In this video, we will learn how to factor by grouping. To factor by grouping, form two groups. So in our example, x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 12, I'm going to form the first group with x squared minus 3x and the second group with 4x minus 12. Step 2, factor out the GCF of each group. With x squared minus 3x, the greatest common factor is x. If I divide each term by x, I will have x minus 3. In my second group, my greatest common factor is 4. So if I factor out the 4, I will once again be left with x minus 3. Then factor out the common GCF. Now they once again have a common factor of x minus 3. So let's take out that common factor. If I divide the first expression by x minus 3, I'm left with x. If I divide the second expression by x minus 3, I'm left with 4. So my factored form is x minus 3 times x plus 4. And we can check to see if this is correct. If I multiply x times x is x squared, x times 4 is 4x, negative 3 times x is negative 3x, negative 3 times 4 is negative 12, which is the same thing as a trinomial we got to begin with. Here's another example, factor by grouping. Let's make two groups. The first group will be x squared minus 5x squared, x cubed minus 5x squared. The second group would be negative 6x plus 30. So with x cubed minus 5x squared, the greatest common factor is x squared. If I factor that out, x cubed divided by x squared is x, negative 5x squared divided by x squared is negative 5. With the second group, notice that the first term is negative. We always want the first term of any group to be positive. Okay, let me repeat that. We want the first term of any group to be positive. So when the first term is negative, then we will also factor out a negative and 6, because the greatest common factor between 6 and 30 is 6, but because we want the first term to be positive, I also factor out the negative. So in the second group, when the first term is negative, also factor out the negative. Let's determine what's left in the parentheses. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1, so we're simply left with a positive x. Positive 30 divided by negative 6 is negative 5, so we're left with 5. We now have a common factor of x minus 5, so if I factor that out, I'm left with x minus 5 times the quantity x squared minus 6. If I didn't factor out the negative 6, if by accident I factored out a positive 6, I would have a negative x and a positive 5, which would not match with the factor from the first expression. So to make sure these two factors match, we need to factor out the negative 6.